Yeah. What up? It's your man, Manny Faces. We are here live Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hip hop can save America. It's the name of the show. It's also the philosophy behind the show. It's your man, Mellow, Manny Faces. Been doing this for a long time. If you're just tuning in for the first time, you're like, what's this going on? We talk about the ways that hip hop music and culture can help uplift humanity and improve society, particularly with a focus on the lives, livelihoods, and communities from whence hip hop came. The lives, livelihoods, and communities that have been perpetually and historically overshadowed, oppressed, marginalized, underserved, under-resourced, and underloved. So there's a social justice element of how hip hop can save America. We think it can help across the board. We can think it can help everybody. We think it can help any discipline, field, any type of business, education, mental health, therapy, all kinds of ways that hip hop music and culture are helping to improve society across the board. But that those interventions can most benefit those who have been left behind by sort of the rest of society, let's just say. So those are the people, places, things, organizations, operations, initiatives that I like to amplify as my role as a journalist and as an advocate for hip hop being able to do all these things. I love hip hop, music, and culture. I've been a participant, a practitioner for many years. I'm just about as old as hip hop. I come from right outside of where hip hop was created. I'm born not born, but I was raised in Long Island, New York, right outside of New York City. And we're here bringing you the stories. Excuse me. Pardon me. So that's what we do here. So if that's something that you value, you're in the right place. There's no other, I dare say, no other hip hop media anywhere that focuses as much as we do exclusively on the cultural output, the way that hip hop music and culture does more than just entertain us, right? All the elements, all the intersections that hip hop has, again, with education, with mental health therapy, with science and technology, with the fine arts, all the elements, DJing, emceeing, graffiti, breaking, knowledge of self. These are things we talk about here. I dare say no other hip hop media. I mean, I want to dare say no other hip hop media does any of that ish, but fine. Some may do a little here and there, but they don't. Generally, they focus on the music, and there's places for that. You can go find out who dropped whatever album, whatever thing. Fine, cool. But if you want to learn about the ways that hip hop music and culture is doing more than just entertaining us, more than just music, you are in the right place. Oh, I forgot to play the intro. It goes a little something like this. Hit it.
Manny Faces.
You sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick for this one.
The thing about hip hop today is it's smart. It's insightful. The way that they can communicate a complex message in a very short space is remarkable. And a lot of these kids, they're not going to be reading the New York Times. That's not how they're getting their information.
My hip hop will rock and shock the nation. Hip hop culture is more than music.
Peace to you and speak the truth. Show 'em what peace can do in their race for you.
My hip hop will rock and shock the nation. Rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live.
So hip hop didn't invent anything, but hip hop reinvented everything.
This is Baby Girl Faces. And this episode is brought to you by
Graffiti on the Bus. Manny Faces, Hip Hop Can Save America, live and direct. Once again, April 1st, 2024. No April Fool's joke. We are having a wonderful guest tonight. One of my favorite people in this game. You're going to learn something really interesting tonight. Dr. Jian Jones will be in here. I know it sounds like a Marvel superhero, But she's a hip hop superhero as far as I'm concerned. So Dr. Jian Jones will be joining us in just a few moments. Professor at Florida A&M talks about occupational science, occupational therapy, and hip hop. It's an interesting combination. And if you're not really versed on these topics, as I really wasn't when we first crossed paths, you might not understand or quite grasp what that means. But it's a really fascinating conversation we're going to have. Again, this is the most enlightening, the most informative, probably the smartest hip hop podcast in the world, in all the land. Hip Hop Can Save America. Me, Manny Faces, the smartest. Not because I'm that smart, although I'm pretty smart, but because the people I get on this show, I mean, we're talking about PhDs, right? But they don't leave their hip hop. They're not like phony PhDs. They're not phony, oh, I'm going to pretend to teach hip hop because it's cool and it'll get kids in our seats. No, it's people that they hip hop. They are hip hop in their essence, and they happen to be in educational institutions or, like I said before, in mental health therapy settings or in science technological positions. It's fascinating stuff. And I love it. It's what fuels me. I hope it fuels y'all. Listen, a lot of things to go over real quick before we have our guest. Shouts to our supporters. You saw Baby Girl Faces, the world famous Baby Girl Faces. Show some love to all of our supporters. If you want to be a supporter, please, you can do something very valuable. I'm going to actually send out a plea to some of y'all one by one. This is very important as we look for ways to grow this operation. If you're watching us for the first time and you're like, oh, I might like this. He's talking some stuff I like about hip hop being used in all these great ways. And if you're a long time watcher, supporter, listener, lover, supporter, you know that this can't happen for free, right? I've put in a great deal of time, personal expense, and effort to show you the foundation, proof of concept, right? We can do this. We have great people that are checking in. We have a growing YouTube following, but we have to make this grow. More people need to know this stuff. It's important for the advancement of hip hop culture and for all the things that the folks we talk to are trying to accomplish. So if you want to help out on an individual contribution basis, please go to patreon.com/Manny Faces and see if you can help out with just a few dollars a month. It helps keep the lights on. It helps support the show. And also the newsletter, the associated newsletter, which goes out on a semi-frequent basis. And I'm working to make it more frequent. You'll see that. So again, patreon.com/Manny Faces. My name is Manny Faces. You know about Patreon. You could put those two things together. Every little bit helps. As you saw at the beginning of the show, we have some great supporters who are helping make this go until we can get some large scale. If you are a person, by the way, who is watching and you're like, oh, I have connections. I have the industry know-how to take this to the next level. We're in talks with some people. We're doing some things behind the scenes. There's some possibilities, some grants, some media partnerships. There's some things that we could talk about. If this is something that you want to see more of and you know how to do that sort of thing, please reach out. Really, we're looking for help in expanding and growing this. You're watching it, so it's important to you. There's enough of an audience that this is important to, and we want to make sure we do the best we can to share this to whoever needs it. So once again, shouts to, matter of fact, we have some supporters in the room. Shouts to Mr. Andrew Wang, Professor Wang, of course, music professor out in Yonkers, New York. Great supporter of the show, does a lot online to spread information about all of this stuff, not just hip hop, but also music education. So our good friend who does a lot of that work, and he's a supporter as well. Shouts to Ada, Miss Thursday in the building, fellow podcaster. Check out her pod. It's back up and running. It's the Beats Per Minute podcast. I was a guest on the season finale of last year, of last season. Well, it was last year, but it was last season. So happy Monday to you. It doesn't feel like a Monday. It's weird because Easter, I think, kind of threw me off anyway. So I'm riding around today. I'm thinking it's Sunday, but it's actually Monday. So yes, definitely Monday. Andrew, you have more names when I'm ready. Oh, I have plenty of names. The problem is keeping the show going. It's not going to happen for free. And you, sir, are a supporter, and you're one of the great ones that are helping us do this. So please, other folks, do like Andrew does and show us some love. on the patreon.com/Manny Faces. But we're trying to expand. We know that this is important. We have some great people that are already super supporters, and we love you for that. If you can't give, $5 a month, that's perfectly fine. We get it. We're looking. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to ask for people to help keep us going, but it can't happen for free. It's me. I can't do it. We have to make it work together, y'all. Remember, like I said, I dare say no other hip hop media anywhere is as dedicated to covering the other aspects of the culture, not just entertainment, than this show right here and the associated newsletter. So shouts to what? Dang, I still don't have all these buttons right. Shouts to the Words I Manifest newsletter. One more thing that you could do to support the show is sign up for this. When we have people that are subscribing and giving money on the Patreon, and we have subscribers to the newsletter, we show potential investors or people who want to get involved that there's an audience for this. So for free, if you haven't already, mannyfaces.substack.com, you can sign up for the newsletter. What does that newsletter give you? Well, the latest episode gave you a recap of some of the episodes of this podcast you might have missed, including Jamal Bowman, Hip Hop and Politics with Representative Jamal Bowman, the U.S. Congressman from New York. Hip Hop and Social and Emotional Learning with the great Jamila Sams. We've had a couple of episodes since then that I haven't gotten to post to the newsletter yet. And then a great assortment of hip hop news that isn't about dumb-ish. So again, the stories that are being talked about that amplify hip hop in a positive way generally aren't on the hip hop media sites. This is no disrespect to them. This is just a fact. They're going to cover the musicians. They're going to cover the drama, a lot of Diddy talk. Even we delved into Diddy talk last week. They're going to talk about all that stuff. However, that's not the kind of information that's going to help move the culture forward. Here, we talk about that, and very few other places do. So we share information, we share stories that some places have talked about. But when I share all these stories, got to tell you, 99% of the time, they're not coming from hip hop sites. They're coming from other mainstream media sites. I just collect them and curate them and bring them to you. I don't rewrite them for clicks. I don't do AI. I just deliver them to you and you click to the original source. That's how it's supposed to be done. What we also show is upcoming intersectional hip hop events. We'll run through a couple of them. If you're just tuning in for the first time in a while, you might want to know what's going on. Shouts to Bob Knutson. There's snow in Wisconsin. We have actually listeners everywhere, including Wisconsin. And in the middle of Wisconsin, it's snowing. This is a travesty. And I hope that whoever is running for office out there in the Oshkosh, Wisconsin area can fix these things. Shouts to Bob Knutson, who's running for local office out there. We have some politicians, not only U.S. congressmen, but very hopefully local representative elect Bob Knutson. So let's see what happens tomorrow, next week. When is the election out there? Well, there's elections all over the place. So that being said, this is a fantastic newsletter. This is a great place to find out where you will have intersectional hip hop events. And what I mean by that is, again, events that are happening that are celebrating the intersection of hip hop with other areas of society, usually to help benefit those areas of society. Again, I dare say nobody else is giving you this information. Nobody else is giving you this information in the hip hoposphere, right? But this is valuable information. We're talking about right now going on in DC, the Words, Beats, and Life Festival is happening. This is a week-long celebration of hip-hop music and culture, right? Concerts, events, workshops. Saul Paul is going to be there. Saul Williams is going to be there. There's jazz and hip-hop with Diggable Planets. Sun Ra Orchestra is happening. Remixing the Art of Social Change is a wonderful conference. I was there at the last one last year. So this is hip hop remixing the art of social change. How do we benefit society through hip hop? It's happening all this week in DC. You could check that out. I don't know. Did you hear about this on Joe Budden? Did you hear about this on Revolt? Did you hear about this on Hip Hop DX? I'm just saying, I'm not knocking them. They cover what they cover. But if you want this kind of stuff, it's here. And only your support will keep it going, to be very, very frank with you. It has been rescheduled. It is a youth-led hip-hop conference happening at Fordham University on April 13th, Saturday. Bob Knudsen says the election in Wisconsin is tomorrow. So good luck to you, sir. Do you say good luck? Break a leg. Break a political opponent's leg. Wait, no, don't do that literally. That's not how, this is not, you're not an ice skater. What am I saying? Anyway, again, the Hip-Hop Youth Research and Activism Conference is happening. It was postponed. It's happening April 13th at Fordham University in the Bronx. It is an all-day event that is happening. And again, if you're an academic in the New York area and you like the idea of hip-hop incorporated with your academic teachings, how do we get a better way? How do we find better ways to relate to students? How do we find better ways to remix the art of social change, right? How do we do things with hip-hop mindset, with this kind of young youth culture driven, but worldwide and really sort of ubiquitous culture? How do we interact and do that? Well, teachers are a great place, are great. That happens. It happens with teachers a lot, and you could find out more at this conference. But this conference is youth-led, which means it's young college students who are saying, what do we want y'all to know about how we look at the world through a hip-hop lens? Again, with a research and activism hip-hop inspired lens. It's a great conference. I'm a mentor. I've been with them for several years. So April 13th in Fordham University in the Bronx, it's free. You can look for HHYRA conference on Instagram, or just look up Hip-Hop Youth Research and Activism Conference. It's a great place to be. I already know who the keynote speaker is, but they haven't announced it, so I'm not announcing it. I do know that there's going to be a DJ and there's going to be an MC who's extremely handsome and talented and well-known. Did I mention handsome? So Fordham University, April 13th, Saturday. Come to that event. If you're an artist who's looking to get involved with young folks in a way that is just more than making records and making people dance in the club, you want to use your artistry to elevate, to connect with, and to inspire. It's a good place to stick your nose and find out what's happening. So my New York brethren and sistren, come through to the HHYRA conference, April 13th, Saturday. I want to point out a couple of more. Now, remember, you see it still on the page there, mannyfaces.substack.com. You get all this information given to you in a beautiful email format. Where is it? So you can get this information delivered to you straight in your inbox for free. So again, patreon.com/mannyfaces. Give a couple dollars a month. It really does help. Substack is mannyfaces.substack.com. You can actually also subscribe there as well. You can give a few dollars there. It's fine. We have supporters in either location. So we do help. It does help. And we do thank you for that. The Can't Stop Hip Hop Conference is happening at Harvard University Graduate School of Education, another academic, but also connected to the culture kind of situation. I point out these a lot. I'm affiliated with them, so I definitely want to big them up. And if you have other conferences that I'm not aware of, please send them to me. But I point them out a lot because I think that it's an important place where we can use the resources of the education, traditional educational institutions, and we can spread that sort of our gospel of hip hop. I don't use the term gospel. I don't like the religious connotations, but spread the proverbial gospel of our hip hop ethos in those locations. But we need to have our people in there. We need to have hip hop practitioners within those walls. And so I do speak to the conferences that do that very well, including for the eighth annual Can't Stop Hip Hop Conference at Harvard. Again, if you're in Boston, this is free. Just look it up, can'tstophiphop.org. Just go. If you're an academic, if you work with children in any authoritative capacity, you want to be in these spaces. You want to see how young people, high school, early college, are involved with hip hop. It's not what you think. If you're not connected, if you don't know what I'm saying already, if you're not like, yeah, man, I know, I've been there. If you're not saying that, it's cool. You don't have to know. That's the point. Come find out what's happening. It's beautiful. It's inspiring. It's innovative. It's the future of these intersections. We're going to talk about it today. Occupational science with Dr. Jian Jones, who's going to be here in a few minutes, and I can't wait. So stick around for that. You're going to understand what I'm talking about more. As we do every episode, we find someone that can articulate these things better than I can. I'm pretty good at it, but I bring on the best. Only the best. Only the best people come on this show. Only the best. So again, a bunch of upcoming events happening. I'll give you two more. Sure, two more. Number one, this is happening over in Merrill, Ireland. I'm not even gonna do an Irish accent. Whenever I do an Irish accent, it comes out, it sounds like Jamaican. It's weird. But the Drop in Science Hip Hop Conference, the seventh European Hip Hop Studies Network, is happening in Cork, Ireland. A wonderful collection of international presenters and presentations about hip hop in all kind of different ways. We have dance, we have identity. We have Dr. A.D. Carson, who's a guest on this show, is going to be one of the keynotes. We have folks like Imani Kai Johnson, who with Mary Fogarty put out the Oxford Handbook on Hip Hop Dance. So again, a very interdisciplinary, all element with events, with local stuff happening in Ireland. So I think it's really fascinating. I've been to a couple of hip hop events in Europe. It's really interesting to me to see how hip hop is viewed overseas as opposed to the United States. Obviously, we birthed it, we exported it, and we're the pioneers, we're the architects, we're the brilliant underpinnings, the foundation. However, I find a lot of inspiration from our European folks who have taken it and done different things, or sometimes in some ways stayed a little bit truer to the, sort of traditional path that hip hop forged. And I get inspired. And that's why I'm going to be at the Cork, Ireland conference, actually presenting. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I'm presenting because it's an interesting topic. I think it'll maybe be a subject of one of these vodcasts in the near future. But we'll come back to me later. Just want to let you know about it for our European viewers. I know there's a few. Check it out. That's at globalcipher.org. Globalcipher.org. Hey, Carla. Carla's in the building. What up, Carla? I see you. Good to see you. Always good to see you. And I'll give you one more while we wait for our guest. This is going to be a good conversation tonight. The Hip Hop Ed Conference. If you know anything about, again, man, I tell you, man, our good friends who are educators really are inspiring. They're in the perfect place to touch young people in the, sort of the formative years and all that. I made a comment the other day on Facebook. Rhapsody was on, the rapper Rhapsody, who recently dropped an album, and you should check it out. Shouts to Rhapsody. Shouts to my man Silent Night as well, who just dropped an album, and I want to get him back on the show and talk about it. New album out, Silent Night. I'll be in New York City. He hasn't announced this yet, but Sunday, April 14th, the day after the HHYRA conference, Silent Night's got a listening session for his new album. So if you know me, if you know Silent Night, he's been a co-host here. We've done a bunch of things. So anyway, hit us up. Hit me up. Find out more about that. It's at Secret Pour in Brooklyn. It'll be during the day. We'll hit you up. Anyway, hit us up. We'll give you the information. Anyway, Rhapsody made a comment, and it's a fair comment. And, I only have a few minutes before our guest comes, so I won't get too far into it. But it's a lamentation. It's something that we complain about a lot as older heads who have been following or listening or a part of hip hop for a long time. She said, basically, she wants more balance on the radio, like in mainstream music. She wants more balance. I think they were asking specifically about women MCs, as they do to women MCs. They can't never just treat a woman MC like a woman MC, like an MC. It has to be a woman MC. So they have to ask about women MCs. I get it. This is Power 106, I think, in LA. And the question was, what would you like to see more of? And, she kind of rolled her eyes a little bit because we know that women aren't always represented in a most beautiful light in hip hop. But her comment was one that we often hear and we often talk about, we often say. We want to see balance. There's always that word balance. We'd like to see more because we know that back in the days, we would listen to hip hop on the radio and we'd have that, raunchy, ratchety type stuff. But we'd also have balance. We'd have, for every Lil Kim, there was a, this was in the same time frame, but every like Lil Kim, there was a Queen Latifah. You know what I mean? For every 2 Live Crew, there was a, Mos Def and Poor Righteous Teachers or whatever. I get, the idea was that at the time, there was at least as much sort of positive, conscious, socially, forward-thinking rap music on the radio, on the mainstream, as there was party music, raunchy, ratchet type stuff. And that's true. That's absolutely true. I grew up, I listened to radio. I'm from New York. This is absolutely true for a good portion of the time that was, you had that balance. And so people miss that. And they often ask for it to come back. And I say 2 things. One, it's probably never going to happen again. Maybe it will, things cycle and it's fine. But mainstream, which doesn't really exist like it did when we're in the time that we're talking about, doesn't really exist anymore. It's a whole different fragmented system. And there's content being delivered left, right, and everywhere. And so I think it's reductive or just kind of simplistic to say, I want more balance on the radio or on mainstream. That'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. What I'm getting at is I want that balance to happen in other places. I want young people from a very early age, right, to know hip hop music and culture and its associated, beauty and its elements and all its, different tentacles in a way that differs from what mainstream music and entertainment likes to put out. It's the same way I want my young children to watch documentary. I want my young children to watch 60 Minutes every week, right? Because I think it's a really thought out, well done, focused news program. Because if they're going to then watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, they're going to get the sensationalized, wild style kind of, a clickbaity kind of news. So I want them to have that balance, right? But 60 Minutes isn't 24/7 cable. So the analogy I'm making here is that you're not going to get that from mainstream radio, from Vivo, from internet, from TV, from the YouTube, from Spotify, from wherever they're getting their content from. They're not going to get that balance. It's not going to happen. You can ask for it 1 million times. I don't think it's going to happen again. But I think if we give them that alternate view of what hip hop music and culture is from an early age in places other than in front of a screen. Teachers can do that. Educators have our kids and they can show this to them. And that's why I talk to so many of them, because that's where the magic can happen. So that when they get exposed to the whatever it is you don't like about today's music, they've already had that balance that we ask for. So when Rhapsody, God bless her, I love her music, I love her work, I love her vibe, I love everything about her, says I want the balance in the mainstream. I think that's a goal that we're going to be chasing carrot and a stick for a long time. I want that balance in hip hop outside of the mainstream. I want it in other places. I want it in schools. I want it in kindergarten. I want it in community centers. I want it at home. I want it at church. When we start doing that, we get the balance early. We give them the foundation of early of what hip hop music and culture is really about. So when they get older and they get exposed to whatever ratchety type stuff that you're kind of complaining about, which has a place. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. There's nothing wrong with P music, with P rap. You know what I'm talking about? Like there's no negativity here. But if you want balance, we can't be looking for our corporations and our radio stations and our BETs and our Vivos to give us that balance when there are educators. There are people who already have that intersection and they're doing that work. That's what I'm saying. So all that to say, the Hip-Hop Ed conference is happening. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. They hadn't had a date yet. It is happening in June 22nd, also a New York City event. The Hip-Hop Ed movement is a collection of educators. They're on Twitter every Tuesday night at 8 p.m., I think, in a Twitter space about getting together and discussing this stuff, how educators can put hip-hop into their educational platforms and do all the things to get to these young people in a place where they can get to them early, often, and effectively. They've done it for years. It's effective. We have the receipts. It's been proven. There's literature. There's research. There's young people saying, oh my God, my life's been changed. These are the folks that we want to focus on. They're having their annual conference in New York City, June 22nd. They announced the date. So there you go. Once again, ain't nobody gives this better than me. Nobody's giving you this type of hip-hop information other than this show right here. Hip-Hop Can Save America. Your man, Manny Faces. Support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Manny Faces. $5 a month. Keeps the lights on. You don't want the show to look like this? Nobody wants to see that. I'm too handsome now. I have lights on. Turn these lights on. Listen, it does keep the lights on. This stuff costs money. But it also lets us expand, put a little advertisement in here, get some people focused, let some people hear what we're doing so that these people's good works don't go unnoticed. What up? Hello. How you doing? Can I help you? I'm who I'm calling handsome, me. Real quick before our guest comes into the room, a special guest, the world famous Baby Girl Faces. Make some noise. What's good? Hi. You going to bed? No? All right. You're on vacation. Why should you go to bed? Baby Girl Faces is here. You saw her mention in the beginning of the show all of our great supporters, thanking them for supporting us. So patreon.com/Manny Faces, and you'll get to see Baby Girl Faces introduce you. Other than that, we got a guest, so I gotta get you out of here. Okay? Okay. You want to keep watching? Who's Dr. Jian Jones? What a good question. Wow, what a perfect segue. You see, I'm training them young. See what I'm talking about? Get to them young. All right, listen. Without further ado, as promised, let's just do it. Dr. Jian Jones. You're live.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little quiet, but I'm exceptionally loud, so maybe it's just me.
Okay. What's good? What's good?
My daughter says, yeah, it's just you. Yeah.
Hey, baby girl faces.
She said, hey, baby girl faces. She said hi back. How you doing, my friend?
Everything is everything, like Lauryn Hill said. So we sticking and moving, like they say down in Miami.
I like it. That's why I like it. Hey, listen, I tell you that every day, like nowadays, like good is great. If I'm good, I'm great. I'll take good. So It's good to see you, my friend. I haven't seen you in quite some time, but it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I am absolutely honored to be on Hip-Hop Can Save America. Absolutely honored. So thank you so much for asking me to be a guest.
Of course, long overdue. The honor is mine, but I had to make it, we got to get the cameras right. We got to get lights. We got to, good looking folk. We got to present ourselves in the right way. So we had to do it right. So it took a little time. Yeah. Absolutely. So listen, please introduce yourself. I gave a little bit of a prelude, I guess, to our talk. Obviously, it's on the screen. Occupational science. I remember I said to the folks before we came on, I said I didn't really understand this before I met you. Like I didn't get it, and then you kind of broke it down to me, and I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. So I want you to get into it for the lay folk out here who might be listening. And then obviously the connection to hip hop, why we're even talking, why you are, and again, the honor is mine to have you on the show. But present yourself to the world as you would like to be presented. I just want to read your bio. Just tell the people who you are as you like to be presented,
That's dope. Hey world, hey young world, the world is yours. My name is Dr. Jian Jones. I am from Tallahassee, Florida, by way of a very small town in South Georgia titled Pelham, Georgia. I am an occupational therapist by trade, but I'm also an assistant professor at Florida A&M University, which is FAMU, a HBCU, the #1 public HBCU in the nation. I served as an acute care occupational therapist within the hospital setting for about 9 years before transitioning into academia to teach the future occupational therapists of the nation and world. And in doing that, I realized that there are aspects of our identity. And when I say our identity, being at the HBCU, where you have multiple cultures within graduate programs and undergraduate programs, I realized that I was teaching from a traditional gaze. And if
Mm.
I am teaching the students about how to use therapeutic use of self and how to relate to clients, which are individuals, on that very meaningful personal level, then why should we have to, I would say, dissect or compartmentalize an aspect of ourselves that is not necessarily accepted, which would be hip hop culture or hip hop identity. And
Mm.
so, even though I'm an occupational therapist, I'm an educator and researcher as well, I started to investigate and explore the benefits of hip hop culture within the field of occupational science and occupational therapy. So, occupational therapy is a rehabilitative profession, it is the cousin to physical therapy. We help individuals learn or relearn how to participate in occupations, meaningful activities that bring you life satisfaction. And
Mm.
so, just with that exploration, I fell in love with the fact that I was able to intersect that, even though there was no pathway for it within the occupational science and occupational therapy discipline. So I pulled from, those that we know: Christopher Emdin, Bettina Love, Gloria Lassett Billings. I can go on and on and on. And I just put that or situated that within the occupational science and occupational therapy space. And here we are today. I have presented data and research as it relates to intersecting hip hop and occupational therapy education for student empowerment, for student self determination, for self reflection on field work, to improve achievement and performance. I have done a few things. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little bit about me. I'm a mom of three. I love to work out and eat healthy. I love documentaries. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I was just saying how important documentaries are. That's fantastic. You do, y'all see, when I told people before you came on, like, we get the smartest people, we get the most interesting people on this show. It's really just a blessing. It's amazing. That is all fascinating and a mouthful to us, regular folk. But it's super. This is so fascinating to me, and I've been on your show, so shouts to the 215s podcast. That's you. That's right. So you're in the podcast game as well, and it was the honor was pre-reciprocated for me to be a guest on there, and you were asking me some questions about occupation and the idea that, and you just said it. You said sort of the idea that the things you do in life to live a successful or a happy or a fruitful or prosperous life, that's occupation. Now, as you know, a layperson is going to say, wait, occupation means job, right? Occupation means,
Absolutely.
right. So one step back, just you said it, but I want you to expand upon it. The idea, and again, the difference between occupational therapy and occupational science. I understand that occupational therapy was first, and there was some confusion at some point about exactly what it is or what it's supposed to be. Yeah. And then occupational science was developed to kind of try to, I guess, codify what occupational therapy is actually supposed to be. And then now folks like you are taking it to the next level. Explain all that in a way that makes sense.
That's dope. You are an amazing journalist. So, right, occupations are things that we do each day. So, like you said, things that we participate in that bring us meaning and life satisfaction. That includes self care. Self care is grooming task, is toileting task, is eating and drinking. Right, it's driving yourself, which is community mobility, being able to get from point A to point B. But it also includes what we participate in terms of work, how we provide a skill in order to receive money to take care of ourselves, for that self-preservation, and to buy into, or not buy into, but provide for our family. So occupations are those meaningful tasks that occupy our time with meaning. So
Mm.
occupational therapy is the rehabilitative aspect, where if there's a deficit or injury or diagnoses and there's a discontinuation of participation in those tasks, then we help you with strength, we help you with the cognitive processes to be able to motor plan how to complete those things, and etc. Now, the
Mm.
science piece, occupational science, is the study of occupations, how we participate in different occupations, the different cultures that have occupations that are different and various, or those that we share with another culture. And so the science aspect just gives us more foundation and grounding in what we do as people worldwide, and how we can use that to further feed into the therapy aspect to push the profession forward.
Mm. What's an example, a real world example of someone who's receiving occupational therapy?
Someone post-stroke, CPA, where they
Mm.
have lost strength and endurance on one side, so hemiparesis or total paralysis.
Yeah.
And so we will have the individual, after completing an evaluation, participate in strengthening task, relearning task,
Right.
or either adapting or compensating and using the opposite side in order for them to be able to be independent, or as independent as possible.
Right.
If not, go ahead, Manny.
I was going to say it's sort of in conjunction with physical therapy, right?
In
Physical therapy is
conjunction,
actually getting your body right.
right.
Occupational therapy is sort of like getting your life right.
Yes. So what I like to tell specifically students when they're trying to figure out if they want to do PT versus OT, physical therapy is in short term. So all my PT friends, don't come after me. Y'all know what I mean by this. PT is going to get you strong enough to do something. And we are going to help you actually complete those steps to do something. So another example that I give to potential students is physical therapy. Physical therapy will help you walk to the bathroom. Occupational therapy will help you use the
Okay.
bathroom.
All right. Well, both are important, I guess.
Both are very important. But something to relate, I would say to the younger generation, not that those in the younger generation will not or cannot suffer from a stroke or a cardiovascular accident or an
Right.
ischemic attack or something like that.
Right.
I would say, God forbid, in a motor vehicle accident,
Mm.
and there is a fracture to, let's say, the lower extremity of the leg, or either the upper extremity. So the humerus is this bone here that connects to our shoulder, and then our elbow is an aspect of the humerus as well.
Right.
So if there's a fracture there in the humerus, and over time there's still weakness and maybe some numbness and tingling because there was also injury to maybe the median nerve with that humerus fracture, then what we could do is, let's say the individual who was in the motor vehicle accident was a DJ, right? What we would
Mm.
do is we would have them participate in motor coordination. We would also work on some things to desensitize that tingling feeling, so that they can actually feel the vinyl if they are old school, if they are
Mm.
if they're more analog, if they're more
Right.
digital and they're using the more electronic turntables, then we will just actually have them do that motion and movement so that we
Mm.
are regenerating the nerve a bit, so that they can participate in that either hobby, which is
Right.
meaningful for them, or in that job that they are able to be compensated for.
Right. Definitely. Like, it doesn't have to be their job. That could be their catharsis, that their catharsis, their
Right.
therapy. I used to make beats when I was feeling low, and I would make beats, and that was important to me. And if I wasn't able to do that, I would want someone to help me get back to that, even though that wasn't the way I made my living. It was the way I
Right.
made my peace.
But I would also say, with that
Yeah.
piece part, if you weren't able to DJ because it brings you some type of peace, some type of joy, how would you feel over time if you're not able to participate in that task?
Right. Right.
So that's where the OT comes in. We help
Ah,
with that shift in identity, because then there's a shift there's an interruption in the identity. I cannot participate
right.
as a DJ if
I'm
I'm
not
no
who I
longer a
was.
DJ. Absolutely. And so then that's where that rehabilitation has to come in.
Wow.
But also allowing an individual to accept where they are, so that healing can occur.
Right. Sometimes you can't be who you were, but there's a way to work with that.
Absolutely.
This is such an important, like, you think about the physical therapy, you think about getting back, and you see it all, I'm walking on the things, and underwater, and all the, ways you get back from a physical, and that's important, and that's a struggle. But just because you can get back to a physical semblance of your former self doesn't mean you get back to a, I'm gonna say spiritual, but like a non-physical, mental and emotional way you were before. And this is what helps there.
Yeah, and that's
I'm
important.
stumbling over the words, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I do, because
Yeah.
that's also an aspect of occupational therapy. We look at the holistic individual as
Right.
a whole. So the mental, the emotional, the spiritual aspect. We do bring in the spiritual aspect according to the individual. So we can't offer anything that is a
Right.
state.
Right.
This is my spirituality and it's tied to my identity in this way. And so I would like to do this. Then that becomes an aspect of our intervention or their intervention plan, because they actually stated that they would like for it to be.
Right. Yep. It all works together. And I guess that's a missing piece that without that, people would have a much tougher time getting back from some of these things. So this was something you did. So you were doing this in practice for a while. Is this right? So how did you say, what was it sort of the transition in your life to say, I'm doing this, but I also want to, I guess, start teaching it or to start, moving in that direction?
Well, the opportunity was presented to me. I absolutely did not want to teach, Manny. I had a
I have so many
professor.
people come on this show and be like, I wasn't even thinking about teaching, bro. But
No,
I know, right.
I had a professor tell me when I was in the graduate program for my master's in occupational therapy that I was going to teach, and I said, I'm going to retire as an occupational therapist in the field as a clinician.
Right.
And Lord and behold, like I think 2.5 years later, one of my old professors, a different professor, called me and asked me if I was interested in adjuncting for a pediatric lab.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, sure. What do I have to do? And she was like, exactly what you saw me do. And so
Right.
I adjuncted for 3 semesters, and a position became open, and they asked for me to apply, and I applied, and I became the academic fieldwork coordinator as well as an assistant professor full time. So I transitioned from the hospital into academia. 100%.
This was where? Was that Florida or?
It was at Florida A&M University. So
Yeah.
I was at TMH, Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, and I started working for Florida A&M. Go Rattlers.
What was the, for those folks who might be listening, who might say, listen, I do a thing and now I might want to transition to being a teacher of that thing. What was that briefly? I'm sure it was a, wild time. What are the takeaways from that transition?
I would say be prepared for the next steps, even without thinking about it. How do you do that? By performing the best that you can at each level, because that opportunity came to me because I was a good student. Per them, I was just trying my best to get into a career where I could provide for my son and help my husband at the time. And they told me that I was a very bright student, and they saw at that time, some of the characteristics of a good professor. So I would say wherever you are, just do the best that you can. It's one of the 4 agreements. Always do your best. And so that's something that I would offer for those who may be thinking about transitioning. Even if you don't like where you are, still do your best, the best that you can, so that those that may be in a position to offer you something better, they can. I would also say continue to be a life learner. I kept all of my books. I stayed abreast of the newest evidence, because in healthcare, we strive to be of evidence-based practice, or to implement evidence-based practice, as well as client-centered care. And then being humble. Humility is big, because when individuals can identify humility within you or another individual, I feel like opportunity comes your way due to that. So be confident and have some pride about yourself, but also be humble enough to know that there's always more to learn in any situation and in any field. And I feel like that's enough to get spotlight, so that you can receive some of those opportunities that have your name on it.
I'm glad they recognize it in you. Sometimes they don't recognize it in the right people, but sometimes they do. Sometimes it works out. Yeah. Very good. So, what's the connection? You said somewhere that the future of occupational therapy is hip hop.
Absolutely.
that right? That's the right quote?
Well, the future of occupation is hip hop.
Okay, the future of occupation is hip hop. And that ties very closely into the field, obviously. So what is this magical combination, this intersect? Because I love the intersections. You know me. That's all I talk about. The intersection. I said, you want to be a better plumber? Hip hop can make you be a better plumber. Let's talk about it. So how does hip hop factor into the work you are doing?
Because hip hop is in everything. So if occupation are activities that we participate in order to live a meaningful life or to reach life satisfaction, if hip hop isn't everything, hip hop brings us joy. And I'm not just speaking for me, I'm speaking for you and conversations that we've had and
Yep.
other individuals, my students and
Yep.
other researchers that have to embed hip hop culture and bring the positives to the light and in media about hip hop culture versus just what industry tends to push. Hip hop is in all of that. And so when I say the future of occupation is hip hop, I'm just saying that there's going to be more individuals like myself within the field of occupational science and occupational therapy who aren't afraid to present their hip hop selves.
Right.
I am stating that we are going to bring interventions that are centered or situated in hip hop. So if I am working with a kiddo that has sensory issues, sensory means that I have issues with maybe different textures, that's just an example, then
Okay.
why not do a foam graffiti wall? Just take some
Mm.
shaving cream, pour a little food coloring in it if there aren't any allergies to food coloring, right?
Sure.
Put it up on a board and have them play in that as if they are tagging a wall, a word search cipher for those that have issues with visually scanning from left to right or right to left, because that is going to interrupt how we participate in activities. A cipher is dope for that. Being able to dress yourself, so just giving them that fly girl b-boy style to throw on and button up to work on their fine motor strength and dexterity in order to be independent in dressing. We are coming. And when I say we, those within hip hop culture who identify with it and who state that we are hip hop identities are the future of this profession. So that's what I mean by the future of occupation is hip hop. There's going to be more occupational science research that includes hip hop, the different elements of hip hop, the different ways that hip hop has inspired individuals to participate in different tasks, as well as the therapy aspect from the examples that I gave previously. So that's what I mean with that very provocative stance that the future of occupation is hip hop, because it is.
You on a show called Hip Hop Can Save America. We all about provocative statements over here.
Absolutely.
I wrote two things down. One is I want to go back the second thing second. So I want to find out sort of what that research looks like. What, as you say, there's more people coming in. You're a researcher as well. But we'll come to that in a second. Just the thought that popped into my head was obviously one of the, we talk so many times. You mentioned Dr. Bettina Love. One of the great lessons I learned from her was the idea that hip hop gives, especially young people who don't always have agency, right? Don't always have the feeling of being seen and heard, a way to be seen and heard. That's what hip hop was. It was, all of the elements, the graffiti, the tagging on the trains was, they think I'm nobody, right? This city's left us for dead, but I'm gonna design this art piece with my name in a way that nobody else does, and you're gonna know it's me. So I'm establishing myself as someone. I am someone, and this is my representation of who I am. And the DJ, the MC, all the other folks, the breakers, all did that same kind of, I'm establishing myself. And what Bettina Love always, stresses is that we know how to do that inherently in hip hop, right? And again, also in other cultures, in Black culture, in immigrant culture, like just kind of like the get in where you fit in, make $1 out of 15 cents, that hustle mentality. But we don't always know that that's what we're doing. They don't always know that that's what they're doing, that they're doing social and emotional intelligence, that they're doing, all these things that now are buzzwords in education or in medical settings, that it's just something inherent in folks who look at the world through a sort of a hip hop, creative, anti-establishment, whatever lens. And what you're saying here is like, you're showing folks who have this need to kind of get back to a place of comfort in their life through some sort of trauma, you're saying we're going to use the same techniques, right? The same kind of things that all these young people found a way to like be someone and come back to the world or be a part of the world that they had been pushed away from. Is that the parallel I'm seeing here? I hope I'm establishing this right, but
Yeah, for me, yes, because particularly within the field of occupational science and occupational therapy, it's predominantly white female. And so when you have an individual like myself going to conferences, or if I am applying for a job and there's a panel for the interview, and I am the only person of color on that
right,
panel, then it feels a bit isolated,
of
right?
course, yeah,
And that's actually one of the occupational injustices is isolation, or part of one of the injustices is isolation. And so how do I create belonging for myself? I tag something. How do I tag something? I put it in my presentation.
right,
I say that I'm the dope slanging OT, or I will present a poem before my presentation that states that I'm a dope slanger. But dope is a metaphor for fresh, for innovative, for different, for great. You know, versus what will come to your mind, your as in the white female population, particularly in my experience. When I say dope, it might
sure,
be negative. So let me make it positive. Um, I know a student who was an undergrad at FAMU, but now she's a student at a very prominent PWI. And she wrote a paper on hip hop as a space or an aspect for belonging, because now she feels ostracized. She feels pushed to the margins because she was at an institution where her culture was embedded within, but now she's at an institution where she doesn't feel like she fits in, and she's homesick, and she wants to bring herself back to the state of Florida. However, by writing that paper, including hip hop culture as a space for belonging, is her saying, "Hey, I need you to see me," because she has to turn that paper in. And
right,
her instructor or professor has to read that paper. And that's going to help them see her better. So she's using hip hop as a way to be seen, just like you said about the graffiti
right,
artists. So yes, it is the same parallel. Is the future of occupation is hip hop, because you all have refused, even if it's not on purpose, you have refused to shed a light on me. So I'm going to make sure that I turn on this light switch for myself
right,
using one of the dopest things in the world, and that is hip hop.
right, indeed. All right, I like it. Makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. It seems like it just makes sense, but I don't know. They don't seem to think it makes sense sometimes, but it makes sense to us.
Right, because it's a part of our identity and we get it. But what I love about what you do and what you continue to do is just push the positivity in hip hop, because that's so important. And I feel like um majority of media, majority of communications is just pushing that very narrow perspective of hip hop. I heard you earlier talking about the P rap, and it's very gangsterized and misogynistic, and just the different aspects of hip hop culture that influence in a negative way. And that's what they see, because we feed on drama. So
Right,
it's the negative aspect versus how hip hop has saved lives, how hip hop can save America, how hip hop is allowing a student who now feels pushed to the margins to belong in a place, and so those things need to be brought to the forefront, and that is what you are doing, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate that appreciation. It's only because there's people like you doing the work. I've said this before. If I wouldn't have anything to talk about, I would just be like, yeah, trust me. No, you don't have to trust me. We have the receipts. So with that said, what are some of the ideas, or what does the industry as a whole, right, need to, you touched on it a little bit, again, presenting that paper, lets the instructor, lets that institution see, oh, we might be missing something here.
Hmm.
We've heard so many things in the health spectrum, of, whether it's racial biases affecting diagnoses, right? Or, all kind of things that have cropped up. I just saw this thing today where some tens of thousands of women, maybe not women, but tens of thousands of black folk couldn't get a kidney transplant. You see this news? This was just breaking. Didn't get a kidney transplant because there was a racially biased organ checklist test that happened. And so now they're bumping up tens of thousands of people who were previously pushed down on the kidney transplant wait list. Now, this is personally just an aside. I actually donated a kidney.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you know this, but fun fact to anyone watching, I'm a living kidney donor. I donated to my daughter almost 5 years ago this April. This actually is the tattoo that signifies this, April 25th, 2019, to my daughter who's black, right? Because she's mixed. Because she's on the waiting list, but this is a very personal situation where tens of thousands of people, because of a racially biased test or some kind of checklist. I didn't get the whole story, so I'm paraphrasing. So we see this across the board, and they say, why you bring up the race card? Because someone didn't get a kidney last year. Now, today, because of something where there's racial bias in the healthcare field, as you just mentioned, in the occupational therapy field, this is not immune to it. So hip hop is being an equalizer of some sort. We've seen it in the education space. Hip hop is saying, listen, it can help everybody, right? First of all, everyone loves hip hop. The techniques that he used in hip hop education can help white kids in Idaho in the middle of, rural somewhere, but it can most benefit those who have been traditionally underserved, under-resourced, and underloved by, generally a sort of, white supremacist society. What does your industry need to do to ensure that folks like yourself are helping as many people as possible in the most efficient way? What are the hindrances? What are the roadblocks? What are you doing? What's the research? What's the prospectus for your industry moving forward? Big question.
Listen to Black, Indigenous people of color. Don't just always feel that somebody's pulling the race card, because that's not necessarily true. There's a good amount of research that is speaking to biases within the practice of medicine as well as practice of healthcare, because like occupational therapy, physical therapy, nursing, etc., may be a part of allied health at times. Nursing is typically, or in most instances, it stands alone. But then you have medicine, the field of medicine, and that would be your physicians. So either your MDs, your DOs, PAs, nurse practitioners, etc. And so listen and pay attention to the fact that a lot of the medical science that was produced, the seminal work, was very racially biased. And we are still, to this day, taking the time to conduct other or new contemporary research in order to deconstruct some of those things that were established before. And so, with those things being established before, things as in thoughts, theories, stigmas, that takes a while to break down. And so you have to listen to the individual regardless of what the research may say. I'm not saying to completely ignore the research. You take that information and you also pay attention and be very mindful to what the individual is stating in front of you, and you help them from there. If this individual presents something that you've never seen before, I would say take the next step to research more about maybe their blood type or where they may come from. Ask them if they know anything about their primitive tribe. And when I say primitive, as far back as they can tell you, because that may give you a little bit more information on how to intervene with the issues that have arose that are causing the deficits and the the discontinuation in performance and improvement. And so I would say to just listen to the person that's in front of you. Also, try to look at things from that individual's perspective. Do your research. Watch documentaries. If you were talking about documentaries earlier about individuals who are within hip hop culture, whether black, brown, Asian, what have you, just pay attention to these things so that you can learn more about it. Watch the Freaknik, just an example, watch the Freaknik documentary. Get
Right.
an understanding of why a group of poor college students who couldn't travel started something and how that blew up
Right.
into a cultural phenomenon. And yes, it was shut down, but just pay attention to how powerful those individuals were because they had very little. It's just paying attention to the people that are in front of us versus just solely relying on the research and the book information, because typically research and books are written from the dominant gaze.
Yeah.
The dominant being traditional Eurocentric
Sure.
view. And
Yeah.
so with that being said, we have to, things are getting better, but it doesn't mean that there isn't more work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for us to continue to break down these walls. So in closing the loop on my response is basically listen to folks instead of just relying on the research, because a lot of times it doesn't involve a good number or good sample of people of color,
Yeah. Yeah.
and black folks. So what we're using to intervene on their behalf, they weren't involved in it, and so it's not best fit, or it may not be best fit. But also being mindful about another perspective and try to consider that perspective, because at times we can't see things from another person's perspective, but we can consider it. And so those are my recommendations.
Yeah. You would think that would be one of the tenets of being in healthcare to begin with, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
but we get
I
caught
know.
up in,
We get
not
caught up.
necessarily caught up, we get
Healthcare is a tough field.
informed.
The
We get-
healthcare, it's a tough field, and there's a lot of, there's often a lot of politics, overworking, and people just don't get the time to kind of expand their mind. They're just doing the job and getting it done, and
Yeah, just a quick example is we have ADLs and IDLs. ADLs are activities of daily living.
Mhm.
IDLs are instrumental activities of daily living.
Okay.
ADLs are more basic. So, like I mentioned earlier, that would be your grooming task, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, washing your face, eating. But cooking a meal requires more tasks. So, that's going to be an IADL. Driving a car is going to be a more complex task. It has more steps, takes more cognitive processing. And so, that's going to be an IADL. Sex is an ADL, it's basic, right? There was a student.
I like to be very complicated with my sex, so it's probably okay.
And that, that's fine, but it's still
Right.
on the humanistic level. It's
All right,
a basic need, right? It's
whatever, fine. Just
and so there was a potential student who was interested in sex therapy as an occupational therapist, and I remember the director. There's a director that shut her down, and this was maybe about 8 years ago. This director shut her down and told her that that was inappropriate. It was too niche. Manny, I tell you today, there are multiple sex OTs.
okay.
Multiple on Instagram. You have pelvic floor occupational therapists. You have pelvic floor physical therapists as well. And those are individuals that go in and make sure that the musculature is working properly for using the bathroom, but also to engage in sex. And so I just feel like we have to be more open-minded with progressing. And I feel like if it would have came from a student that was not necessarily a Black student or a student of color,
right,
that it would have been received better, right?
Gotcha.
But it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because that my theory is that it's because it came from someone that looked like her. So we just have to be more open and not shut down individuals that have these innovative, bright ideas because of what has already been established.
I hear you 100%. I think all the innovation comes from these communities and these folks and brilliant folks. There's brilliance abounds, and it's you do your cause a great disservice to ignore it or to pay little attention to it. Real quick, Ada Johnson, Miss Thursday, her moniker is very much in the healthcare field. So she's been tuned in and turned up in the whole comment section. You'll see it afterwards. I guess she's been very engaged, and she's a good friend of the show. She said she worked in a rehab facility and used hip hop to help her patients when possible. I work with my OT to help a patient use graffiti with fine motor skills. So
That
again,
is
some
dope, Ada.
yeah.
That is so dope. And see, that's what I mean. Like, there are individuals out here that are doing this, but there's no one writing on it because we have researchers and scholars that will say, or academics, that will say that it's not rigorous.
Right.
Yeah, houseway. I don't understand. What do you mean? You're taking an aspect of culture that has been under research. There's not enough literature about it within our field. That, I mean, we need to fill in the gaps. That's what we do as researchers. That's what we do as scholars.
So go ahead, finish your thought. No, finish your thought. Yeah, it's amen to Ada.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. So now as we start to close out, I won't keep you all night. I know it's getting late in Florida. It's the same as me. It's not late. Let me try it. But you might have. I don't know. Are you like teaching this week? Are you on break? What's going on?
No, I'm teaching. I have class tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, we on break out here in Georgia. My daughter's off. I figure everyone's off.
Spring break. We had spring break 2 weeks ago.
Oh, so yeah. Because in Florida, everything's advanced. Everything's hotter, earlier, and I don't mean advanced in a good way. I just mean quicker.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets hotter, quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to Georgia. I'm from New York, so I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand any of this weather, these patterns. These bugs. I'm still getting used to it all. So not to keep you up all night, but so what are the kind of things that you personally, we talked about the industry as a whole, trying to listen to people, obviously that cultural, it's the same thing as education, right? The culturally responsive, culturally affirming pedagogy that, we talk about with hip hop all the time in the education space. Same thing. Just, know who you know your folk, know who you're dealing with, understand that connecting culturally is going to just give you a better camaraderie. First off, we talk about doctors. Well, I have a good friend who's a doctor, emergency trauma surgeon, actually, one of my best friends, brother from another mother. And I talk to him all the time, about hip hop and all these intersections. And he's like, And I'm like, let me tell you something. You deal with people. You're customer service. In the healthcare, like you talk to people, you have to deal with the public. And if you could just connect a little bit better to somebody and their culture and their, how they see the world, they might open up to you a little bit better. You're going to get a better response from them. They're going to be a little bit more truthful with you. They're going to be a little bit more, open with you. This is what mental health therapists do when they say, I bring hip hop into the mix. Like we talk to folks all the time. So it all makes sense.
It does. Yeah. Quick story. Young man came in with a gunshot wound. He was at the club. Smelling like flowers when he came in. I mean, I swear he was one of my cousins. And so I went in talking with my, with my home vernacular, my home tone. What up? How you doing, bro? What's going on? What happened? He like, I can't tell you what happened. What you need? And I said, well, the physician asked me to come in here and see you. I'm an occupational therapist. I explained what it was. But the way that I talked to him, that I spoke to him was at his level because it's like, I see you.
Right.
Because I did.
Right.
There was no judgment. I was actually a lot more comfortable in his room than I had been in any other room because I could speak that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's before I transitioned into academia.
Right.
And when I tell you that he gave everybody HE double hockey sticks except for me and my homegirl, she's a physical therapist. We incorporate hip hop identity. He was waiting for us to come. The nurses would call, hey, can you come and work with so-and-so? We like, why? We just saw him. Well, he won't listen to us. That's because you have to see him. You're not seeing him for who he is. You're judging him because he smells like flowers. And I mean, he had locks, so it's in his hair.
Sure. I get it.
And because of what the words that he's using, but he's still a human being. So
100%.
if you treat him like a human being, y'all gonna be good. So it's you got to meet people where they are, which is that reality in the education field, reality pedagogy that Christopher Emdin was talking about a while ago. So anyway, meet folks where they are. And that was one of my favorite stories, which showed me that I could use that aspect of me to be therapeutic. And in occupational therapy, we call it therapeutic use of self. You use aspects of who you are to establish rapport, to assist with morale with the individual that you're working with. So if we all did that, come on.
So it's therapeutic use of self. See, so I'm saying, like, we do these things inherently. We didn't know how to tell you what we do.
Right.
But and these are the words that make sense out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually, in presenting and in my papers, I'm writing that that's related to the fifth element that KRS stated. Knowledge of self.
Knowledge of
self. You know who you are. You know how to use aspects of who you are to relate to somebody else. That's all that is.
That's right. Real recognize real.
Absolutely.
You know what it is. That's what's up. So these are the things you're looking into as a researcher. I guess I would imagine, when you say you present, you talk, we'll close it out on this. What are kind of all of this, right? Is what you want to kind of look at and And how do you look at it from a researcher lens? Like, what do I, if I'm, the great Dr. Jian Jones, what do I have to, how do I have to look at this? What do I have to, how do I have to put this together? What are the presentations I'm doing to try to make this, more, just more understandable, more prevalent in the field?
So operationalizing how I use hip hop culture within the field in
Yeah.
various ways. And so from the, I would say, academic fieldwork coordinator, that's the individual that places the students, the OT students within their fieldworks. I am utilizing hip hop themes for self-determination, like I mentioned earlier, or for self-reflection. While on fieldwork, which is their internship, they have to do a weekly reflection, just explaining how the week went. They have to establish goals, and they also have to report back on the goals that they established the week prior. Well, in two separate fieldwork rotations, one I used Loaded Bases, which is from our late great Nipsey Hussle, and they had to use an acronym titled LOAD to help them plan for goals, and that was attached to self-determination. But I also use Outcast themed journal prompts, speaker box versus the love below. So speaker box is you're amplifying great things about the week and what you're going to continue in order to reach your goals. And then the love below is something that you love, but you didn't focus too much on, that you would like to incorporate as you continue to improve performance. And also just reporting back on how those reflections help the student reach the end of those rotations in order to be successful and to graduate, because they have to complete 4. I've also looked from the community aspect at street identified labor through, I would say, exploring Young Jeezy's Thug Motivation 101 album and how we relate to that album, but use aspects of what he's talking about in a different way. So if he's talking about, stacking dough, how do we do that? How do we use that as motivation? Even though we may not be participating in a street identified labor, how do we use his storytelling within our role of a worker in order to receive compensation? And so that is operationalizing occupational status. How do I move from one occupational status, which could be, poverty or low socioeconomic, to
Right.
higher middle class? So those are 3 ways that I operationalize the use of hip hop culture. And then lastly, I would state the just exploring the benefits of using a hip hop case study for students to learn how to implement different intervention strategies. And so I've used Jay Dilla and, some of his diagnoses that he had to navigate before the end of his life. And the students actually had to fit him for a wheelchair so that he can complete his tour in Europe. And so asking the students how did that assist them in becoming confident and increasing their self-efficacy and fitting an individual for a wheelchair, or prescribing an individual for a wheelchair. And I got a unanimous response of it was 100% needed. It made me feel like I was incorporated into the class, into the syllabus, into this assignment. I felt seen, just different things like that. And so those are some ways that I've operationalized hip hop culture, or aspects of hip hop within assignments, but also taking that data, using that as data in order to let the people know that the future of occupation is hip hop.
Oh, you're so brilliant. I just can't. You blow me away every time we talk. And when I first saw you present, and when you talked about, like, you just come with your natural self and just blowing people's minds with all you talking. This is what I'm talking about. Your textbook example of why hip hop could save America. And I'm so glad we had this talk. It's long overdue. I really do thank you for your time. We'll finish up. I'll ask you the question that I ask most folks that come through the show. We've talked, so you already know my impetus for naming this show, this lofty idea, as provocative as your statement is, that hip hop can save America. What comes to your mind when you hear that, when you've heard that, when you first came across that saying, that mantra, that iconic logo that I designed myself? Thank you very much. What's your thought process when we say hip hop can save America?
Hip hop is saving America by keeping America alive. That's what's happening, and that's what I saw, or that's what I thought of when I first ran across your podcast. Is keeping America alive.
Mm.
Hip, Black culture, people of color that have, I would say, influenced, inspired, was a part of the inception of hip hop. Is why this country is a reason why this country is. This is very provocative and a strong statement, and I don't have any evidence that I can actually cite right now, but I'm pretty sure I can find it. um, it's a reason why the industry in different industries are what they are. Hip hop is within the automobile industry. Hip hop is all up and through music. I mean, every new soundtrack to me has some aspect of hip hop
Yeah.
or blues, which is a stem of hip hop. So when I saw Hip Hop Can Save America, I just immediately thought that hip hop is a huge reason why America is still here. From politics, people are conversing about hip hop, which is keeping those conversations alive, negative or positive.
Yeah.
You know, uh, Beyonce just dropped the album, and there's a conversation about Jay Z, and everyone is circulating around this one album. It's like the country and the globe stops. So hip hop can save America because it already has, and it continues to, even though it doesn't get the credit.
Mm. Mm. Well, well.
Mhm.
Preach. So, and I hope that we, you especially, me secondarily, continue to get the credit for the work you're doing in bridging these gaps in, these intersections that are quite clearly just from your testimony tonight, uh, uh, helping people in a way that wouldn't have been possible were it not for you personally, and were it not for your combined cultures. Obviously, your Black identity, your Southern girl identity,
Mhm.
and your hip hop identity. But the perfect storm, the best of all those worlds, is what I see in you, and the work that you do is testimony to that. And I hope that it continues, and I hope I can support it every which way possible from here until the end of time. So
I appreciate that, Manny, and I'm
yeah.
looking forward to us working together more.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right down the block. You know
I
what it
know
is.
you in Atlanta. I didn't necessarily promise you something, but in a way I did, and I am still working on that. Step one is step one,
Okay.
and after step one, which is a pilot that got some small funding, um, there's a larger one coming up that I'm applying for a grant and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna keep true because it incorporates hip hop, and if it incorporates hip hop, I mean I need a DJ. So so anyway,
Yeah.
I look forward to what we will do in the future. I really do
I
appreciate
am,
that.
as in the words of the great Big Daddy Kane, I'm ready, willing, and able. RAW, ready, able, and willing. I don't know, whatever.
I do.
RAW. I'm here.
There
I'm
you
here
go.
for you. So I appreciate your time. Anything coming up? Anything you want the people to know about? Are you appearing anywhere? Are you going to AERA? Do you do that thing, or like what do you got coming on? Anything you need the people to know? And I
Yeah.
can reach you on the socials and all the end of the interview type stuff that we not gonna say.
Absolutely. So I can be reached, or you can check me out, JianJones.com. It's JIAN Jones.com. But you can
I
hit me
said
up on.
I made. I said you said your name like a Marvel superhero. You know that, right? Like
What?
you.
What do you mean?
I mean, like it's always like Peter Parker or
Oh,
Jian Jones. Like yeah. You
thank you for that. I needed that.
you my superhero. You my hip hop superhero.
But I mean, you're the one that's called Manny Faces. Isn't Manny Faces like a superhero?
Was a little. We're not gonna talk about where it came from. I don't want no copyright. I don't want no IP infringement, trademark situations happening. But yeah.
Okay. But on Instagram, I am its Gian Jones. I'm also the hip hop OT, so that's the period hip hop period OT. And then I mean, you could just reach out to me on there. Anything that's coming up. Well, it's poetry month, so I'm doing a bunch of poetry here in
Oh yeah,
Tallahassee
that's right.
for
We
Black
didn't
on
even get
Black
into
Crime.
that. You had a wonderful piece on your Instagram. Where's that piece that you had in parts, 3 parts? Where's that live? Because that was fantastic, but I needed to see it in its entirety. Where can we see this?
So it's on Instagram, but I am going to post the whole poem on YouTube as well as IG. But IG made me break it up, and so I got part 1 through part 2.
They won't let you be great, IG. They're not letting us be. I know. We good, but we can't be great.
I know they used to let you post like a 5-minute reel, but they don't anymore. So or at least I don't know how to do it. Anyway, moving on. It will be on Instagram. But the name of that piece is Sojourn Her Truth. And that is the one manifesto that is the anchor to the text that I'm writing. It's an academic text. And it's titled Sojourn Her Truth, Occupational Injustices of the FemC and How She Rapped Back. So it's basically posing Sojourner Truth as the FemC archetype, and instead of stating or giving the speech "Ain't I a Woman," she's rapping "Ain't I a Woman," and her audience at the Women's Convention isn't a room of white women. It is a room of FemCs, all the FemCs you know, and the one that took the charge very heavily, I heard you mention her earlier, was Rhapsody, to the point that she was crying in this dream that I had. This was an actual dream that I had. And so I am writing that text on how the FemC has continued to advocate against occupational injustices of women in general, but how at the end, Rhapsody, being so moved, created her album Eve, her feminist hip-hop album Eve. And so I go to juxtapose lines in Sojourner Truth's speech, Ain't I a Woman, to lyrics on Rhapsody's album. So Sojourn Her Truth, Occupational Injustices of the FemC and How She Rapped Back will hopefully be available at the end of the year or the beginning of 25, because, you have to get a contract and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the piece, Sojourner Truth.
It's going to be a whole book. See, I'm trying to write a book, and I get jealous of people that like write books, and then you tell me you writing this book. I'm like, well, then my book is stupid compared to.
No, it's not.
It's not stupid. That's what an amazing concept, and I'm very. I know my book is fine, but we need that one too.
Because I thought that was stupid. I was like,
no, that's brilliant.
Well, what I did was I turned it to a white paper. A white paper is a paper that isn't published. So I just put some thoughts down, and then I submitted that to a conference, African American History Conference, SALA, which is, I think it's the Association on the Life and Study of African American History. And so they accepted it, and an editor from one of the academic press, let me just say that, he approached me. He was like, hey, are you interested in turning this into a book? And I was like, I didn't think about doing it. He was like, this would be a really good book. So I think you should submit a proposal. Here's my card. And so we've been talking back and forth. And so there's a movement, but I want to make sure that it gets out how I would like it to. And so
understood. I know how that goes too. Yeah.
It was a small idea. So for your book, it's an idea, but that's what happens. Like,
let us all have books within the next, X amount of months. How about that? We can all eat in this game. And I love the piece. And I do encourage people, if it's still on your Instagram, to go check it out in parts. That's perfectly fine. You Netflixed it. It's all good. We can binge. I'll binge you. It's no problem at all. And please, and share with me so I can share with the folks anytime, anything you got going on. Happy to do that, whenever you're appearing or whenever you're publishing or putting something out. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Manny. Always.
All right. All right, my friend. That's it. That's all we got.
Cool.
Go to bed. You got to teach tomorrow.
I do. I got it's kind of late. I fed my kids. But anyway, I'm about to eat something real quick, and then I lie down. It's gonna be nice and light though.
All right. I thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to catch up. Let's catch up again offline, ASAP. Anytime you're available, I'm around.
All right, we'll do. Peace and
all right.
Thank you.
Peace and love. Good to see you. Dr. Jian Jones, the superheroette of hip-hop occupational therapy. I mean, come on. When I tell you the most brilliant, the most passionate, and the most innovative folk in hip-hop can only be found here I'm not lying. I'm just saying. I'm not down on anybody else. I'm just saying. Please do check out our good friend, Dr. Jian Jones. It's Jian Jones on Instagram. I'm Manny Faces. Your man, your mellow. This is Hip Hop Can Save America, the show that looks into ways that hip hop can, save the world. I know people keep saying that, like, it can save the world too. I know. Go to hiphopcansavetheworld.com. You see it come back to me. I already got you. I'm one step ahead of y'all. We go do support this show, and then we can do that show. Support folks like Dr. Jian Jones, my good friend who's doing wonderful things, and support everyone who comes on this show. Shouts to everyone in the comment section. Shouts to AJ Woodson in the place to be. Yeah, she's brilliant. She's fantastic. You understand why I've been waiting a long time. And just so excited to have her on the show. The work that she's doing in such a unexpected, right? You know, they say that all the time. Watch this. Watch this. When you see a mainstream news outlet, like a News Channel 7 in Peoria somewhere, right? And it'll be about some local guy or woman who's like a teacher, and they're using hip hop in the classroom, right? This is obviously something that's not new to us, right? But watch what happens. Read the article, and they will say something that says, teacher blah 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 uses hip hop in an unexpected way to engage da 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 da, and we're like, unexpected to who? Unexpected to y'all. It's not unexpected to us. We expect it. We see it all the time. So that word unexpected. But I got to tell you, I was truly blown away. I saw Dr. Jones in Harvard at a previous incarnation of the Can't Stop Hip-Hop Education Conference, again, which is happening May 3rd and 4th at the Graduate School of Education at Harvard. Check that out. Can't Stop hiphop.org, whatever. Can't Stop Hip Hop Harvard. You'll see it. That's where I first saw her. So when I tell you to go to these things, it's because this is where I find the brilliance. And I will remind you that there's no hip hop media at these conferences. Look at the brilliance that's there. But I'm there. So I'm just saying, everyone's got their lane. This is my lane. The brilliance in hip hop in these intersections, because I was surprised. I didn't understand occupational therapy. I didn't know what it was. I'm thinking, like, you help me get a job? No, that's not what occupational therapy is. Occupational therapy is a very a serious medical, profession, and there's occupational science now, and there's and it's a brilliant. First of all, I think it's an underappreciated field. Because when we talk about physical therapy, coming back from a stroke, as we talked about a motor vehicle accident, you get physical therapy. You think physical therapy, and then you're good. You're strong enough. You're back. You can walk. But that doesn't. You're very often a shell of your former self in some way. And occupational therapy is not just to get you back to your job. It's to get back to your life. It's to get back to your identity. And I didn't understand that. I didn't get it. So this wonderful, brilliant woman taught me all of this and then said, when I do that, I can incorporate hip hop, because your hip hop identity is what we need to get you back to. Or the way you see the world, we can attach a hip hop mindset to that. Or, I can just be a little bit more, how hip hop is super welcoming and super inclusive of different cultures and different races and different ethnicities and different nationalities and different religions. Nothing's more inclusive than hip hop. It doesn't matter where you're from. It's where you're at. It's how you do the thing. It's, are you in this zone with me? And you're good. I don't care what you look like, where you come from. Look at hip hop. It's the only thing. What else is there? So when she says, look, and we can do that occupational therapy wise, I can make you feel comfortable. I can bring you back to your life. This is what I'm talking about. Anyway, patreon.com/Manny Faces. Support this work. Help me keep doing this until we find she's going for grants. I'm going for grants. We're looking for institutional partners and media partners, but we don't want just the regular okie dokes. We want some real help to do this. In the meantime, I will accept gleefully individual contributions to keep this going. I want to keep growing, and I want to make this work. So thanks to those who have checked in and helped us out before. You've heard me mention the names. Just AJ Woodson, who's in the room, has been a supporter, and we thank him. We want to get him on the show. He does some great work. When I talk about hip hop journalism, it's not always about hip hop. Sometimes it's a hip hop journalist that talks about their locale, as he has in Black Westchester, news, and that whole environment, that whole region. It's just being hip hop. It doesn't mean you're doing hip hop. It's being hip hop. The way you carry yourself in the world and do amazing things. You don't have to be rapping and DJing every day at your job, but the way you see things, the way Jian Jones talked about being an occupational therapist, it's not always just doing like speaking hip hop stuff. It's just coming from a hip hop mindset. That's what we're trying to get across here. There are folks doing this work. So thanks again to our contributors. I have the Patreon up there because I'm really asking y'all. I'm really starting to say help me out with this. Shouts to Silent Night, one of our great supporters. By the way, Silent Night just dropped an album. If you know me, you probably know Silent Night. You can go to silentnight.bandcamp.com. Silent Night, like the chess piece. Silent Night, K-N-I-G-H-T. Just dropped an album, Restoration 3. We're doing a release. Well, it's a listening party in New York City, in Brooklyn, on April 14th. If you ever want to see me and see what I'm doing, I haven't put on the calendar yet. You're getting the first dibs. We just worked out the deal. This will be on my calendar on my website, mannyfaces.com. So if you ever want to see what I'm doing or what I'm into, go there. I'll be at the Hip Hop Youth Research and Activism Conference at Fordham University on April 13th. That's in the Bronx, up in the Bronx where the people are fresh. I do recommend that you come to that if you're in the area. Just see some young folk. And when I say young folk, I mean like young college age folk leading the conference. They put out the calls. They put out the who wants to present. They approved all the presentations. They're running the conference. There will be a DJ there, apparently, from what I hear, rumored to be very handsome, very talented guy. You might recognize him if you see him. I'm just saying, hypothetically, might be part of the conversation, might be part of the presentations, but it's all youth run and youth led. We're happily sit back as mentors and advisors, and we see them looking at the way they see hip hop through a research and activism lens. And I'm very excited for the presenters. I think my homie Unlearn the World will be there from Hip Hop for Change. He's been on this show. He's super dope. The good folks at Martin's organization. Andrew Wang said it before. These young people they do a restorative justice presentation workshop. Restorative justice is a way that you can, it's a whole movement in criminal justice reform called restorative justice. You might want to check that out. It's just brilliance. Young people being brilliant and all with hip hop all smack dab in it. So if you're losing hope in hip hop, if you turn on the radio, if you watch the Vivo, if you hear about Diddy, if you see Sexy Red, and none of this vibes with your hip hop spirit, I promise you, we still have all the things you need to fulfill your hip hop soul with greatness and goodness. And I will lead that path. I will lead you there. Just join me. Support the show if you can. Silent Night got an album out. Go buy his album. It's super dope. Come to see us in Brooklyn on April 14th. Go to my website in a day and I'll have the information posted. Shouts to Mark E, Jesse G, Toast, Nicholas S, Brianna, Steffi, Kath, Morgan, the mighty Andrew Wang, Dr. Raphael Travis, Patrick, Chris J, and a new supporter through Patreon, Adam Cruz. You can support us and have your name said too. We'll give you some perks. I want to give y'all mugs. I know it's silly, some people like t-shirts. We're going to do t-shirts again, the Hip Hop Save America logo. I got mugs coming. I'm going to start giving things out. But if you want me to keep the lights on, I'm telling you, it's getting a little bit dicey for me to just do this all by myself. I need some help. We're looking for big investors. We're looking for partnerships and all that jazz. But in the meantime, yeah, we could use a couple dollars. So patreon.com/Manny Faces. I'll be back next week, right? We're doing a show next week, yes. Shouts, by the way, to Summer McCoy, our great executive producer. I don't mention her enough, but she's always behind the scenes, just giving us innovation and inspiration. And she's our forever executive associate producer. Her 2 initiatives are worth checking out. The Mixtape Museum, especially if you're a mixtape DJ or if you have fondness for mixtapes. Please check out Mixtape Museum. Just Google it, Mixtape Museum. We are, I think, already collecting. She is already collecting mixtape memories. There's going to be some activity about that. The Mixtape Museum is an initiative to try and preserve not only the mixtapes themselves, but mixtape culture and the fondness that people have for mixtapes throughout history. So mixtapes obviously been an integral part of hip hop culture, the way that hip hop permeated and pollinated the country and the world. And great legends from DJ culture and from hip hop culture at large have been in the mixtape scene. So just wanted to shout out my good dear friend Summer, the Mixtape Museum, as well as Hip Hop Hacks, which is an initiative that helps folks teach young people the ins and outs of computer programming and getting involved in some of the technical fields through hip hop. There's an initiative happening, my friends at Breakbeat Code, that are happening. One day, with enough contributions and help, one day we'll have producers that can fly in information when I'm talking about them. I can't do it all at the same time. So this is kind of the next level stuff we're looking to talk about. We had some folks on from Breakbeat Code. Breakbeat Code is having a free hackathon, a virtual hackathon coming up in some days. I have the information. I'll send it out on a newsletter. I'm putting the Patreon up there because I'm like, wink, wink, wink. Come on, y'all, help me out. But at the same time, I'm gonna remind you about the free newsletter, and I will have information about that. That's going to be a great way that young people are able to connect with the world of technology, computer programming, and other such things. So Breakbeat Code is having some hackathons information coming up. I'm going to send out a link that can bring people there. So again, academic conferences, really great intersectional hip hop stuff, stories that are curated from across the media landscape, very often not found in your hip hop media, very often found in just scattered amongst mainstream media. Great stories about hip hop, innovation, inspiration, and insight. The newsletter is right there. Other than that, find me on social. I'm Manny Faces Official on Instagram. I would love you to follow me. If you're watching on anything else besides YouTube, get off and watch us on YouTube. Go to hiphopcansaveamerica.com/watch. I know it's a lot of, I'm telling you, do a lot of things. It's like a lot of calls to action. But you got to do these things. I'm just a guy. I'm just one guy. And I'm trying to bring more people in and get people paid and do all this. But you got to do these things. You got to help me out. Otherwise, it's just going to go away. And you're going to be like, hey, what happened to Manny? And I'm like, I got a job. I work, I drive a car. I can't be here Monday nights. Like, it's just going to happen. So I'm trying. I'm working hard. I do have some things that are paying my bills, but that's not this. I don't think that a lot of people want to see this kind of thing succeed. People don't want smart hip hop talk. They don't want hip hop talk that can help save lives and elect people to office and educate young children of color. But if you want that to happen, help me out. Let's make it happen. And then we can show the people that there's an audience and that there are people willing to contribute to these messages. And then we can blow up. And then I won't need y'all $5 a month anymore because we'll, be getting big money. So that being said, I'm out. Once again, thanks to our guest, Dr. Jian Jones. Just a remarkable, brilliant person. And like just one of my, they're all my favorites. Everyone's my favorite. But in this game, it was such a beautiful intersection that I just didn't know existed. It's easy to see how it works in schools. It's kind of easy to see how it works in mental health therapy. Science and technology was really exciting to see how hip hop could be involved in that. Obviously, we've seen marketing and advertising over the years, you know, but to see like this specialized field be benefited from hip hop is uh, it's one of the inspirations to this whole thing because it really shows me that every aspect of humanity, all of our, combined and individual fields and disciplines can benefit from this wonderful music and culture that we love. So we got to help preserve it. I'm doing my part. Can you do yours? Help us out. With that said, I'll be back next week. We have a guest. And then the following week, I won't be here. Right? The 15th, we won't have a show because I'll be in New York. Well, I'll be coming home. I'll be home by then, but I'm not going to do a show. So again, Hip Hop Youth Research and Activism Conference in New York at Fordham University on Saturday. That's where you can find me. And then Sunday the 14th in Brooklyn, a place called Secret Pour in the afternoon. It's like a day party kind of thing. So if anyone's in New York, these are two places we could cross paths. New York is my old stomping grounds. I'm happy to be there. I'll be in and out. It'll be a quick thing. But let's see if we can link up. If you're in New York, let me know ahead of time and we can try to find time to cross paths. Other than that, tell your friends, tell your friends. I didn't even ask you to thumb up this video if you're watching live, share it. If you're watching on the replay, share it, do all the things. Make sure you're subscribed. Again, if you're watching on somewhere else, please, hiphopcansaveamerica.com/watch. Subscribe on YouTube. That'll redirect you to the page. It's youtube.com/Manny Faces, whatever you want to do. And subscribe to the channel. We will be here next Monday. We're here Mondays. I rip the interview portions out. I put them up as separate videos. And then we also release them as a audio podcast. So if you're just into audio podcasts, you could find all of this at hiphopcansaveamerica.com. My name is Manny Faces. I'm so happy that we had a good show tonight. I was feeling low. I've been feeling low. Weird time. But nothing brings me more. Nothing brings me more. A few things in my family. My stupid dogs. I have a new dog. He's a puppy. He's stupid. I know he's not stupid. He's stupid because he's the puppy. He's not gonna stay stupid, but he's really stupid right now. But he's a handful because he's giant. I've never had such a big dog before. I got little puppies and little dogs. Not little. I don't like those dogs. This guy is like big, got a big head. He's a pit bull. He's a pit bull mastiff mix. He's going to be enormous. Ridiculous. He's going to be as big as a bus. And he's only 6 months old. So he's just full of energy. He's a giant head that just rams into everything. And then his head is so heavy, he falls off things because his head is heavier than his entire body. It's madness over here. Anyway, thank you for checking in tonight. And whoever's sticking with me, Ada, I appreciate you. I'm going to keep my head up. My dog going to keep his head down because it's a giant head. It's crazy. AJ Woodson in the building again. Andrew Wang, I think, left us to go watch NCAA women's basketball. It's all good. Chosen Hip Hop, I didn't see you in here. Sorry, I was very engaged in our conversation. I love that that you appreciate this information. That you're with us every week. I assume that's Prism. And again, if you didn't check my talk with Prism, PR-ism from Chosen Hip Hop, check out last week's episode. We'll be putting that up as a standalone very, very soon. Stay the F at home. Loves that we talked about the intersection of mental health and hip hop. We talked about that in the past, not on the video version, not since we've been doing these. One episode with Dr. Raphael Travis. Shouts to Dr. Raphael Travis, supporter of the show. We did an episode with him. He's in Texas, and he's the author of the book, The Healing Power of Hip Hop. So if you like the intersection of mental health and hip hop, check out that episode with Dr. Raphael Travis, but also go further back and check out our interviews with folks like J.C. Hall, and Dr. Ian Levy, and Dr. Elliot Gann, all who have worked in the fields of therapy. Dr. Elliot Gann with therapeutic beat making. JC Hall operating a recording studio in the Mott Haven High School in the Bronx, New York, doing therapy through music making and just done a fantastic job. Dr. Ian Levy, 2016 New York State School Counselor of the Year, who incorporates hip hop into his school counseling therapy, and then went on to go teach school counselors how to do the same thing. These folks are pioneers, and they're doing really great work. So when I talk about mental health therapy and hip hop, it's a wonderful combination. It's a blossoming intersection, hip hop and mental health therapy. So if that interests you, you want to look back a little bit into our archives and talk to those folks. Or listen to my talk with those folks. We'll have them back. We'll get updates from them. They should circle back around. It's been a couple years since we've talked to some of those folks, so I'd love to catch up with them. So you can find that in our archives. All of this information at hiphopcouldssaveamerica.com. And yeah, that's about it. All right, I'm out. I gotta get my life together. A lot of things going on. If you're in the New York area, please come see me at Fordham University at Hip Hop Youth Research Activism Conference, Fordham, April 13th, Saturday, 9 in the morning to like 3. And then there's like a after event. There's like a concert and a block party thing happening in the Bronx. So there's a whole thing happening. So if you're anywhere near there, hit me on the side and let me know you'll be there. And if not, maybe come see Silent Night's listening session for his new album, Restoration Volume 3. That'll be happening at Secret Pour in Brooklyn on DeKalb Avenue, if I recall correctly. And that's Sunday, sometime in the afternoon. I don't have the exact hours yet, but check my calendar, check in with me, hit me up, follow me on Instagram, Manny Faces Official. I share a lot of events that I don't cover here. I usually put them in the newsletter, but on my Instagram, I'm always I curate a great list. So, Trinity Hip Hop Festival is happening at Trinity International Hip Hop Festival is happening at Trinity College in Connecticut. That's coming up. So again, the newsletter, the Instagram, and patreon.com/mannyfaces to help me keep doing this. Otherwise, it's just going to go away until I can find, some benefactor to bless me with the tens of thousands of dollars that this needs to really get to really be the way it should be. In the meantime, though, help a brother out. Yeah? All right. It should be on the email list. I'll give you more information. We'll talk soon. I'll be in New York. I love you all. Peace and love. It's your man, Manny Faces. I'm out.